Hello, my name is Matt Bird, and welcome to the PublishU Podcast, where we feature the real life stories of authors from around the world. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Guy Wasko from New York, who has written his third book, The Four Greats. Guy, welcome.
Hey Matt, it's good to see you today. How are you?
Very well. It's always a better day when I see you. So
Same, same.
why don't you tell all of our friends listening, tell them a little bit about you for those who have never met you.
Sure. Well, Matt, I've been living in New York City for 17 years now this summer, married to Rebecca and three kids and a little dog named Wrigley. And we've been tinkering and committing our space and time and energy over those last 17 years to just making our neighborhood, the East Village, and New York City overall better, primarily through the local church and through various community organizing activities and programs. So I now get to lead a ministry and an organization called For NYC, which exists to catalyze movement in the city for good, for the good of the city, by equipping resilient leaders, uniting the church, and accelerating mission. And so that's the
Wow.
platform that I get to be a part of, get to steward. And this book, The Four Greats, connects directly into that platform.
Amazing. So remind me, what's the population of New York City and how many churches are there covering that space?
Yeah, so as best we can tell, there's about 8.6 million people who call the five boroughs their home, and overall, over 22 million people who would be in the larger metropolitan area, right? And
Wow.
then being able to sort of get a handle on how many exact churches there are is a little bit more complicated, but our best guess is that there's between 6 and 8,000 churches just in the five boroughs alone. And that includes everything from historic, large, um, established churches that have been here for generations, and then the small little mom and pop churches that people that again probably have been around for generations or at least decades, but they're smaller. They're maybe sort of hidden in storefronts and but across the beautiful fabric of the city, right? And I understand that not everybody carries a faith or goes to church. But at least for me and my context and my audience, we're trying to help make the church a more beautiful and compelling contributor to the good of human society here in New York City. So that's what we're after.
Beautiful. Love it. And so your new book, The Four Greats, follows on from 4 NYC and Insights for Impact or to Impact.
Mhm.
Um, give us the overview of how these first three books fit together.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think there's tons of theory, right? We've got lots of people who have great ideas or big dreams in their hearts, but we really want to be a resource to anybody that wants to sort of marry together faith and impact. Like faith, their core convictions, their belief system, and also just like making the world a better place, right? And so we want to take the cookies off the top shelf and put them on the bottom shelf. We want to make these resources as applicable and accessible to people as possible. So 4 NYC is the first book in our pocketbook series, and it's essentially a playbook, a field guide, if you will, Matt, for somebody who wants to link arms with one another in people in their community and then go on mission together. Like, what does that look like? So that's what 4 NYC is about. We give some very practical tools and steps about how to collaborate together and go on mission together. And then the second book, Insights to Impact, is again a field guide, so to speak, from a research project that we commissioned with Barna. And it's called the State of the City Research Project. And they did this massive, massive campaign, all of these studies and research, and they boiled all the statistics together, and they gave it to us in this massive, manual. And we took that manual and turned it into Insights to Impact. And so that's basically what are people thinking about faith? How do people think about the city, about the church? What does the average New Yorker want the church to do, like to be? And so we put all that in Insights to Impact, and now the average New Yorker could pick that book up off of Amazon or wherever books are sold, I guess, and follow along. It's super simple. It's very small. You can read it in 45 minutes, or you could take, week by week. Anyway, so that's Insights to Impact, this research project, and then practically speaking. So now the third book, right? Four
Yeah, this
greats.
is what we're here for.
This is what we're here for. The four greats. The four greats is essentially an operating system for mission for those who have a Christian faith. So we're drawing from the teachings of Jesus himself in the Gospels. And what does Jesus say is most important? And as it turns out, it seems like he kind of highlights a couple things. So quite simply, the four
Yeah.
greats. These are the four greats. I'm going to give you a little
Okay.
preview.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the book is out, right? I mean, this is release day. We're excited. We want people to get their hands on it. And the four greats are um, love, go, do together. So love God, go do the Great Commission, do it together, and care for one another. Love, go, do together. So essentially what we're trying to do is get people to think about, what does Jesus say is the most important things? And we think these are the things. He says, we've got to, the great commandment is to love God and, and to love others. So what does love look like? So I would even say, even somebody who's not a person of faith, can you love? Do you love? What do you
Yeah.
love and how do you love? And every human heart is designed for love. So I would say, of course, you love something, you love someone. So how are you doing at love? And of course, from a Christian tradition's perspective, Jesus himself asks us to love God first and then to love others really well. The second great is, of course, the Great Commission to go and take this love to others, to expand this love, to share this love with others. So love, go, right? And then the third is this great compassion, this idea that people would. Jesus says, if you've fed someone, if you've clothed someone, if you've cared for someone, you've probably done it not only for the least of these, but you've probably done it for me. Let's go and do likewise. And so he's basically telling us that there's this ethic of compassion for one another, that we should care for the brokenhearted, the wounded, the less fortunate around us, and we should be constantly looking for those opportunities. So love, go, do. This is of course, the great compassion, and then finally, it's the great collaboration. It would be really beautiful, Matt, if we were doing all these three things, but Jesus in John 17 prays this amazing prayer, and he essentially asks the Father to help everybody to be one. Now, I don't know about you, but it seems like we live in a slightly divided world right now.
Slightly.
So all these factions and ideas and philosophies, and we're back and forth, and well, mine is better than there's the spirit of competition and comparison, and I just wonder if the world would be a slightly better place,
Mm,
if New York City would be a slightly better place, if we would actually recognize the ways that we're more alike than we are different. We'd
mm.
link arms with one another, especially the church. I think it's Peter Drucker, the famous leadership guru, who said, the church is the only institution on the planet that has the capacity to bring everybody together. And yet it's the most fractured and divisive institution yet. So will the church actually come together?
Yeah.
So
Wow.
love, go, do together. Those are the four
Beautiful.
greats.
The four greats. Love it. Love it. And Guy, could you give us a story of somewhere where you've seen a group of people do these really well? And just an anecdote of what you've seen them do as a result and what the impact's been.
Yeah, sure. There's a group of churches in Washington Heights. That's the very northern part of the island of Manhattan. And these churches decided to get together and to do exactly what we just described. Now, this is before this framework in this book, of course, was published. And let me also just stay for just a second. I've taken a bunch of ideas and writings and also scripture, of course, from mentors and friends of mine who have tinkered with this thought. So this isn't 100% mine. They've given me permission to put it all together in this new resource, right? So I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, is my point. But these churches in Upper Manhattan, in Washington Heights, have all gotten together. They identified a need, which was um, youth mentoring, and just they had a bunch of students and young adults who seemed to be on the fringes of society and culture and sort of getting left off. And they created a new opportunity for a mentoring program. They started working together. They started sharing the love that they had with one another. They'd share a meal together as a church, as a group of churches, and then they started this mentoring program. And so, in very many ways, they've followed through with this loving one another and loving God as a result of their love for each other, identifying the needs of their community. What does that look like? Sharing that love with others, going on mission together, and then actually doing it together, right? So meeting the need of the least of these in their community, which only one part of their community, but they recognized and identified one piece. And now they have this incredible mentoring program. And it's going on for so many years, Matt. It's really encouraging that they've started their own new nonprofit so that they have the structure and the credibility and the funding to be able to sustain this effort. It's really beautiful.
Great, great story. Really powerful. And Guy, for people listening to this broadcast, and they're thinking, "Wow, that's a great story," and I love the four greats. What could I do, and where do I start? What advice would you give to somebody listening to this who's thinking, "Well, I love the sound of the four greats, and I'd love to do something with some people." What should they do?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the obvious is buy the book, but that sounds a little self-promotional. But I think it's also true. Like we write because we have something that we want to help people with, right? Like I said at the beginning, let's take the cookies off the top shelf, put them on the bottom shelf. Let's be as
Yeah.
practical as possible. Let's make it simple. And so I would say, of course, the structure, the resources, and the support, the tools in the book are also incredibly helpful, I think. Then I would also just say, like, look around. Who do you already have relationships with? What do you care about? What are your passion areas? And who can help you? Who can you go on mission together with? That's really practically, Matt, I would say. It's right in front of us. We all have asset-based community development and theory argues that we already have the resources available to us all around us. We just have to pay attention, do an audit, find the right people, and then do something, right? Get off the couch and go do something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just do it.
Yeah, that's
So,
right.
so would you? So you've obviously written this to resource and catalyze, people of faith in New York City.
hmm
Um, what are you hoping is going to happen with this pocketbook? People are going to pick it up. They're going to read it personally. They might read it in small groups. They might get together and do something. What would you hope this catalyzes?
Yeah, I mean, my hope ultimately is that it does in fact encourage people to be holistic, to be integrated. Because here's what I know about the human condition and every personality is we are more inclined to move in one direction or another based on our preferences.
Mm,
And so even when we approach the scriptures, you think about the four greats, my guess is there are people in every church, every organization, every community who are more interested or inclined to promote or focus on one of those four greats than the other. And what I would hope is that there's more balance, that there's more holistic sort of approach, that we recognize the role of faith in communities.
mm,
Harvard Human Flourishing Project did this massive 10, 11-year study now, and they found out that faith is a major component to human flourishing. So even if a person isn't a person of faith, what they've found is faith is a major component, it's a major element. Religious community is a major element of a human being the fullest version of themselves. So what I would hope is
mm.
these four greats would help other people realize, help New York City and churches and people on the block in the East Village and Bushwick and the Bronx and Fordham, all across the city would realize that the church is a major component of human flourishing and making New York City better.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But there's maybe people listening here from Australia or South
Yes,
Africa or Europe or
right.
elsewhere in the US and Canada.
Yes,
And they
yes.
could take this and do the four greats themselves.
Absolutely. Yes, it is not uniquely contextual to just New York City, that's for sure. This is universally applicable. And again, I would just say, like, read this with an open mind, especially if a person doesn't necessarily come from a Judeo-Christian background, because it might seem sort of off, or maybe not everything makes sense. But essentially, the components do make sense. The practical principles are applicable across context, across continent, across culture.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, Guy, this is the third pocketbook in the series. Are you able to give us a little glimpse of what you might have on the horizon around the corner? What's your thinking
Well,
next?
I mean, of course, we want to be able to meet the needs of our people, right? And sort of have an ear to the ground of where leaders are, with what's the state of the church, the state of religion in New York. So we're continuing to listen, Matt, of course. But one of the main components of what we're doing at 4NYC is focused on the soul of the leader, the heart of a leader. What does it
Mm,
look like to be resilient? And so I think probably if I was going to guess and put out a little teaser, I think we'll probably end up doing some exploration and some writing around that category, around that theme of the soul
Mm,
of the leader. What keeps a leader in the game? What keeps a leader from burning out? What keeps people like you and I optimistic and filled with hope and peace and joy and love? And what does that look like? Grit, And are
mm,
there practical principles around that theme? That's
yeah.
probably where we'll end up going next.
Yeah, interesting. Well, that's a little taster of maybe possibly what's on the horizon, which I love the
Yes.
sound of. But
Yeah.
we're here today to celebrate the four greats, and it's now globally available. Go and get your copy, physical copy, e-copy, audio copy. Get out there and get yours, and read it with others. This is, one of the greats is about what you
Yes.
do together. So get together with some friends or a group that already meets, and study it, read it, just have a conversation about it, and see what
Yes.
happens, and see what's activated as a result. It's a really beautiful thing. Well, Guy, it's been a absolute joy to be with you, and feel the energy that you're carrying for your place, your community, your city, and all that you're trying to catalyze with others, to see even more good happen for the whole city. It's such a beautiful thing. Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you all for listening to the PublishU podcast, featuring the real life stories of authors from around the world. If you're interested in becoming an author like Guy, then please do visit our website, www.publishu.com. And if you enjoyed this broadcast, make sure that you subscribe for more. Thank you all for joining us, and goodbye for now.